everyone, my name's Ebony and welcome back to my channel.
Think I know you better to forget her. Certain people made for running. Think I need you more than let you know I'm bored and tell me this means more than nothing.
Today I'm doing a pretty exciting video. I'm doing a discussion / Q&A of what it's like to work at a bookstore, to be a bookseller. If you're new here, hi, welcome. I got a job at an independent bookstore in February. I'm so excited about it. I absolutely love my job. I love going there. Like, it's never really like, ugh, I have to go to work. You know, like, I'm always excited to go. And then, like, when I'm there, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, it's already time to leave. What? So I wanted to do a video talking about what it's like to work at a bookstore, basically. You know, it's the dream job for really anybody who loves books. So I do have questions that I got from like Twitter and Instagram that people asked me, but before we get into like specific questions, I'm going to first give like an overview of like my job and also like what our bookstore is like. I want to preface this is not an exhaustive list of everything that we do at the store and everything that the store entails, because there's so much that I don't even know, just because I'm still kind of new and I don't like, there are a lot of, we have like staff members that do like specific jobs, and so like I don't do those jobs because I'm not that staff member. So I don't know exactly everything that goes into having a bookstore, working at a bookstore, but I will do my best to answer the questions and give you guys a little bit of a taste of what it would be like to work at a bookstore. Also, if you have further questions after watching this video, please comment them down below and I will do my best to answer them as well. So first, to give you like a timeline of like how I got this job and when I got this job. So I think in November or December, sometime around there, I went out and I got applications to like all the bookstores here in Omaha. I did actually do a vlog of that, so if you want to check it out, you can. I got those applications and then I turned them in. I got an email from the Bookworm, which is where I currently work, asking me to do an interview for the children's department. And I was like, yeah, like I was so excited. So I go, I do the interview, it goes great, but unfortunately I didn't get that job because my like schedule just didn't work out with what they needed, because at the time I could only work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday because I had classes Monday through Wednesday, and that's just, it just didn't work out like scheduling wise. I was really bummed when I didn't get the job, and then I thought it was over. But then I got another email like a month later maybe, saying that they were very impressed with my first interview and with my resume, and so they asked me to come in for a second interview for a general bookseller. So I went in, I interviewed for that, and then I did get the job, and I started working there in February. As far as training went, the like very first thing we did was I was given a tour of the big old bookstore, because it's pretty big, and like all the different sections that we have. And the best way to learn what all the different sections are is to shelve books, and the best way to just figure out where everything goes is to shelve. That was like the first thing I did for the first couple weeks. All I did was shelve books. The way that you like shelve books is that you just like grab the book, you know, type in the title or the ISBN or whatever, find the book in our system, which is called Booklog, and then in there you can see like the category it goes in, and so you're like, oh, this goes in fiction. I did that for a couple of weeks, and then eventually they were like, okay, time to train you on the register, and I was so nervous to train on the register. I've worked in customer service before. I used to have a job at a cafe in my hometown, and so like I've run a register before, but like the register at the Bookworm is like so much more intense. Like there's so much more you have to know how to do on this register than there was on the register at the cafe I used to work at, so I was pretty nervous about that. Just like remembering all the steps and all the things you have to ask the customer. For example, like, are they a member of our Baker's Dozen, which is our frequent buyers program? If they want gift wrapping, if they are paying with credit or debit, or any other things. I had to figure out how to do the gift cards. There's just like so many steps on the register that I was like really nervous to do at first. But it's definitely just like a practice makes perfect thing. You learn as you go. My current job, like all of the duties and responsibilities I'm in charge of right now, entails first register sales, like I talked about. Also, gift wrapping. I have become an amazing gift wrapper since I got this job. Like, okay, not amazing, like I'm definitely not the best gift wrapper ever, but I used to be like pretty bad at gift wrapping, and just like having to do it every day, I've gotten so much better, and now I love gift wrapping. It's so much fun. Because we do have complimentary gift wrapping year-round. We also do special orders, so if a customer is looking for a book that we don't have on hand, we can order it from the warehouse and it'll come in a week or a week and a half, kind of depending on like shipment and all that. So if the customer has a book and we don't have it, we go ahead and special order it, and the way we do that is we go onto the website of our warehouse, find the book that they're looking for, make sure that it's in stock, or if it's not in stock, that there's at least like a back order of it. And also, if it's in stock but there's less than 10 copies, we have to do this fancy thing called Ceciling, which I can't do, but they're like some of my coworkers can do. And so I don't know exactly what they do, but they like go in and basically like say, like claim that book and like immediately after the customer has like ordered it. So that way, when it comes around for them to specifically place that order, that book is already like earmarked for our store, and like no other store ends up getting that book. You have to make sure that there's at least 10 in stock, or if they're back ordered, you have to let the customer know, hey, it's back ordered, so it'll probably be a little bit longer since our warehouse is currently sold out, but they're getting more. You have to make sure that there's like a discount thing, so that like tells the store, like us as the store, like how much of a discount we get on it, so that way, you know, we're making money. And so if it just says regular, you're good. If it's 30%, 35%, then you're good. But if it's like lower than that, you have to ask like a manager, hey, is it okay if I get this book for this customer? And usually they say yes. You just have to like let them know. And then if it's like 5%, or if it just says net, then you can't order that one, unfortunately. Also have to make sure if the item is returnable. So we don't require our customers to pay in advance when they do a special order. We usually have them pay when they come to pick it up. But if it says not returnable, then you do have to have them pay in advance. So that's kind of a thing you really gotta make sure you're paying attention to, so that way you're not like saying, hey, we can get this book for you, and then it turns out it's not returnable. It's like, actually, we can't get it until you pay for it. So it's like, that's just kind of a thing you have to be aware of. There are also web orders I do not take care of. That is, other employees cover the web orders, but basically people go online and they order it online, and then web orders are almost always paid for online. And so, but you have to like pay attention to that too, because when special orders come in, we put them on a shelf with like a paper around it, and it has the customer's last name on it. That way you can, like, when the customer comes in, you'd be like, oh, what's your last name? And then you can go find their book for them on the special order shelf. But also the web orders go on that shelf too. So when a customer comes in and you are getting their special order for them, you have to make sure if it's web order or not. Because if it is web order, then they do not have to pay for it because they already paid for it online. And so you don't want to like charge them twice. But if it's not a web order, then you do have to have them pay for it unless it says paid. So it's kind of just something you have to remember. And then the web order papers go in a specific place as well, so that the people who do the web order staff can take those web orders off of the pick list. So when you like are ringing up a customer and you put in their last name in the computer, it pops up like all the special orders that they have. And so if it's not a web order and they have not paid for it, you just click it off the pick list, and that way it leaves the pick list, because if you don't click it off there and you just scan it, then it will be on the pick list forever. But if it is a web order, you do not pick it off the pick list, because you don't make them pay for it again, and so they have to go in and take it off the pick list. It's kind of like a whole thing. Also with special orders, we do have to call the people when their order comes in. If it's a web order, usually they get an email, and I don't do that. But like if it's just normal special orders, then we just have like a stack on the back counter that have papers in it with the customer's name and phone number. For example, if I had taken a special order, I would get the customer's name, phone number, how many books they want, and if there's like multiple books that they're wanting, you put like 1 of 2 or like 2 of 2, that kind of thing. And so then when you go to call the special orders, you have that phone number there for you. I have called special orders before. It's kind of just like a, if it's there, just somebody do it kind of thing. I actually really enjoy calling special orders. We have like a little script on the counter there, so That way you know what to say, you know, and you're not like, oh, the special order, like you're not like stuttering, like you could just like kind of read the script, especially if you're leaving a voicemail. It's really nice. And then after you call them and let them know that their book came in and they can pick it up at their earliest convenience, then you write on the paper their last name, put it on the shelf for the special orders. My job also entails taking phone calls. Now I have more recently learned how to take phone calls, and I still to this day get a little bit nervous when I have to take a phone call. Usually just a customer calling and asking, hey, do you have this book? And then it's easy enough. You just look it up and be like, yes I do, can I put you on hold while I try to find it? And because sometimes book log can be off, so you really want to make sure that we actually have that book, like you have the book in your hands before you really tell them, yeah, I have it, I'll put it on the hold shelf for you. But sometimes phone calls can be a little bit harder. Sometimes people are checking on their special order, and so I've more recently learned how to find a special order via the customer's last name, and then like seeing their orders and kind of seeing like when we made the order, when we if we've received it, and then like checking the special order shelf to see if it is actually there. Sometimes they get misplaced. Sometimes you get people calling just asking about different things that I don't know specifically. This is kind of like a side story, but if you guys know Rainbow Rowell, you know, author, fangirl, and Carry On and Eleanor Park, all that, she has a new book coming out on July 6th called Anyway the Wind Blows, which is the third book in the Carry On Simon Snow series. So she's actually from Omaha. She'll do a lot of events through us. We've been working for quite a long time receiving orders of like personalized signed copies of Anyway the Wind Blows, and we have like a staff member who's like, that's like that's not his entire job, but right now that's like really what he's focusing on. So like if you get a call and they're like, hey, I want to pre-order Anyway the Wind Blows, you either A, turn them to the website. Like we were told to just send them to the website. There's a little thing on the website where you can pre-order it. Or if they have like a more specific question, just give them to that manager who takes care of that, because there's a lot of pre-orders for that book, which we're very, very thankful for, and we're grateful that Rainbow Rowell sends all of her fans to us. We have received a lot of orders for that book recently. Unfortunately, we aren't doing an event with her for this book, which I was kind of bummed about because she's taking the pandemic very seriously, as she should. So we're not able to do an event with her right now at this current time. So I'm kind of bummed about that because I was really hoping to meet her and like get a personalized signed copy. I thought that would be really fun. We are doing signed copies, it's just she's not doing an event at the store. But hopefully in the future we will be able to do one with her, and I will be very excited for that. As I talked about before, shelving is a main part of my job. That's pretty like straightforward, you know, you just like check to see where it goes in the computer system, take it over the shelf, find where it goes via author's last name, and put it on the shelf. Another thing that we do is shelving is just making sure the shelves look nice. Sometimes you have to double check that it's like alphabetized correctly because things can get moved around. And also like if there's a lot of gap on the shelf, you can like face books out, which actually, fun fact, when you face books out, the sales actually do better if you face books out, because I feel like when you're looking at a shelf like this where like all the books are just the spine, and it's like this giant shelf, like the cooking area. The cooking section of our store is huge, and there's just like this giant shelf full of spine. You're kind of overwhelmed because you're like, I don't know what to pick or where to even start. And so like if you have a good amount of books faced out, it kind of not be as overwhelming. And also, you know, covers are very intriguing, you know, people like cover by and all that kind of stuff. I cover by a lot. So like it's just good to be able to show the cover if there's space for it. Also with shelving, we do have overstock in specific areas. So fiction has a pretty large overstock compared to all the other sections, and also it's pretty full. Sometimes there's just not enough space on the shelf, especially in like the UVWXYZ part of the alphabet. That place is packed on the fiction shelves. If there's no space, you can either sway. Here's my shelf. Say I need to put it on this shelf, but this shelf is completely packed, and of course they would not be stacked like this, but this is just an example. The shelf is packed, so but this shelf right here has space. So what I would do is like move these books up here and, you know, slide it over and like put the book in wherever it would go. You know, so you can sway, and sometimes you have to sway over several different shelves or even several different bays. But if it's just like there's no way you're gonna get a book in there, you can put it in overstock, which then you have to use the fun ladder. There's actually 2 ladders. There's one on like either side of the store, and they are on those like bar things, so you can like slide the ladder around. and then you get to climb the ladder and put the books in overstock, so that's kind of fun. Also, we check inventory, so every member is assigned a couple of sections. For me, I have craft, art and photo, audio, philosophy, and inspirational, and most of those are like fairly small sections, so that's why I have quite a few, whereas like my coworker who has fiction, like that's her only section, like, because fiction is huge. So basically with checking inventory, you print off a list of what book log says we should have at least one copy of. It'll say if we have more than one copy, but like you print it off so it shows you all the books we have at least one copy of in that section, and then you go and make sure that that's correct. And sometimes book log is off and it says we have one but we don't. Sometimes it says we don't have one but we do. Sometimes books are just put in the wrong spot. So you can't just be like, oh, we just don't have a copy of this. You also have to like kind of do some investigating and make sure it's not like on a display or on a different shelf, that it kind of like is the same category. For me, I'm doing art and photo and craft, and art and craft are very similar things, and so I've found that a lot of books that like should be in the craft section are in the art section and vice versa. So that's one of the things I'm working on, is making sure that all of the books that are supposed to be in craft are in craft and art and photo are in art and photo. Also with that, you want to make sure it's alphabetized correctly and it's dusted and it looks nice. It kind of gives you a sense of ownership of that area. So like you spend enough time with these books, you really get to know what we have in that area, and so you should really, like, every shift or as often as you can, check on your areas, make sure that they look okay, that they're nice and dusted, that they're alphabetized, that kind of thing. Then another part of my job is to do cleaning chores. So we have like a chores list in the back that just shows you like, oh, this is your daily task, your weekly task, and your monthly task. And you don't have one like every single day or every single week or every single month. It kind of rotates through all the staff members. Those are just things like sweeping, sanitizing, cleaning in general, just little things to make sure the store stays nice. I saved the most important for last. The most important part of my job is customer service, is aiding the customers in finding books that they're interested in, making sure that they can find the books, helping them find it, making them have the most pleasant experience at the bookstore as possible. That's the biggest part of my job, is customer service. I actually enjoy it for the most part. The nice thing about working at a bookstore is most of the customers that come in are like, this is their day off and they're looking for the next fun read, and so you can really have a good conversation there with like, oh, you like sci-fi? Clara and the Sun is a good option for you because it's kind of a sci-fi story, or like that kind of thing. You know, you are able to promote your favorite books that you've read, or think of books that they're like, oh, I really enjoy thrillers. Oh, have you read The Silent Patient? You know, like just like putting together what they might like based on books that they've liked previously. And so yeah, most of the people who come in are really happy to be there, so it's nicer than working at like fast food where sometimes customers are not the nicest. Customers are the most important thing, and honestly the most fun part of my job is just being able to talk to customers about fun books. Another like fun side note about our store is that we are dog friendly, so a lot of times customers will like be on a walk and they'll pop into the store with their dog, and then we get to like see dogs and pet dogs, and it's like, it literally makes my day every time someone comes in with a dog. I think that's most of what my job entails. I feel like I'm definitely forgetting something, but there's like a good idea of like what I do on a daily basis at the bookstore. So now I'm going to talk about the different like areas or like sections of books that we have in the store, and this is definitely not an exhaustive list. I have definitely forgotten some, but these are all the ones I can remember off the top of my head when I was planning this video. And I'm kind of just gonna go through the list because there's quite a few sections. So starting with more like display areas, we have an indie bestsellers shelf. So instead of it being like the New York Times bestsellers, it's an independent bookstore's bestsellers list. There's hardback fiction, paperback fiction, hardback nonfiction, paperback nonfiction, I believe is the way it is set up. We also have a new and notable shelf, so oftentimes that shelf and the bestsellers overlap. But mostly it's just new books that are coming out that are really hyped, really popular, a lot of people are talking about. And we also have an Indie Next list, so that's, we get like pamphlets from the Indie Next people, I don't know, like people who work with independent bookstores, and those are again like new releases, and so we also have a shelf for that. We also have like various different displays. So we have one display in the front that changes monthly. So right now it's June, so there's a Pride Month display. We have some schools that are doing like their summer reading list with us, so we have a shelf that has all the summer reading books for them. We have like an octagon sort of thing in the middle that is like constantly changing like based on the season. Right now it's very summer themed. Also book club shelves, so like if we have book clubs that are through our store, they'll tell us what book they're reading, and then we'll get however many books they need for that, and we'll put it on the book club shelf. We do have two months at a time, so right now I think it's July and August, since June is pretty much over. We have a staff picks shelf, which is my favorite shelf because you get to put your favorite books on there, and that's always fun to look at and to see what people are reading. We have fiction, which fiction is huge. There's so many books in fiction. There's a smaller sci-fi section, there's a smaller fiction short story section, there's a true crime, there's mystery, which is pretty big. We have a sale area, so those are books that are on sale. We have art and photo, design, craft, poetry, nature, gardening, cooking, which is absolutely huge, family, which is pretty big. There's a humor section, spirituality, inspirational, philosophy, psychology, sport, travel, LGBTQ+ and gender studies, performing arts section. There's a local authors section. We have a Western regional history. We have business. We have science. There's a pretty big nonfiction section, a pretty big history section. There's memoir and biography, which are kind of together. And then we also do have cards and stationery. And then there's a lot of different sidelines that are things that are not books, but sometimes they're book related, sometimes they're just cute little like decor kind of crafty things. So for example, this I got from the store. It's just a cute little bird. Like, there's cute little, like, display pieces, kind of. We have bookends, like, all that kind of thing. So that's all in, like, the main area, which is where I work. But there's also a children/middle grade/YA section. I do not really work in that section because that's, like, a whole other department. I do tend to go back there from time to time if, like, they're busy back there and a customer's like, oh, I need a YA book about yada, yada, yada. Because I read a lot of YA, so I'm pretty good at recommending YA books, but that's not where I specifically work. But I have gone back there from time to time. So that's like the main stuff that I have jotted down here about working at the bookstore. There's definitely more to this, but now I'm going to go through some of the questions that people asked. So I was asked how much of the work is enjoyable and how much of it is customer drama. And like I said before, customers are usually very happy and very excited to be at the bookstore because, like, bookstores are so much fun. I mean, I'm always happy when I go to a bookstore. I haven't really had that many bad customer experiences at this store, which I am very grateful for. My friend Faith, she asked a stupid question. She said, how many books have you ate? Definitely 9. No, I haven't eaten any books. Who eats books, you weirdo? Petite Punk asks, what's something you don't like about your job? One of the, like, cons of working, it's not specifically this job, this is like every job that you're on your feet. My feet start to hurt. I don't work that long of shifts. Usually I work 4 to 6 hour shifts. I have worked some 8, 9, 10 hour shifts before when I was covering for people, but like usually I do not work shifts that are that long, but still my feet hurt. And I've noticed I have an issue with my calves cramp. If I come home from work, my feet hurt, I've been on my feet for a while, and then like I'll go to lay down and I'll like, usually it's when I'm trying to go to sleep, my calves cramp up. And so that's unfortunate, but that's just the nature of any job where you're standing. I guess another like quote con is that I don't get to read while I'm working. I feel like that's kind of a common misconception if you work at a bookstore, that you get to read like if you're slow. So that's not really something that we typically do. Like, it's okay if you see a book and you're like, oh, this looks interesting, and you kind of like read the synopsis. Honestly, that's kind of a good thing to do, so you kind of know, like, if there's new books coming out, you kind of know what the synopses are. That way you're able to recommend them, but you can't just like sit there and read a book while you're on the job, you know? There's always cleaning to be done and dusting and organizing and that kind of thing. How many customers tend to come in a day? Honestly, okay, like I said, I only work like 4 to 6 hour shifts, so it depends on the day too. So on independent bookstore day, while I was there, we were super duper busy because it was independent bookstore day. Also, like the day before Mother's Day was pretty busy because, you know, people are getting gifts. Same thing with Easter, we were pretty busy, like the day before Easter. So like usually like before holidays are really busy. I've heard that Christmas is a wild time. I haven't lived through the Christmas season yet at the store, but I've heard it can get pretty hectic during Christmas. But it also depends on the time of day. So I work Thursday, Friday, Saturday on a normal week. Sometimes I pick up shifts on other days because right now I don't really have anything else going on since it's summer. On Thursdays I work 3 to 7, and on Fridays I work 3 to 8, 8:30. I work 3 to close basically, but we close at 8, but it is usually more like 8:30 by the time I leave. For like those times, it's decently busy from like 3 to 5-ish, but then like 5 to 7-ish it's a little bit emptier, and like there's kind of just like little spurts of people who come in, or like people who are just like browsing. I also work on Saturdays, and I work 9:30 to 2:30, which we open at 9, so I come in a little bit after opening. Saturdays are kind of hard to predict because sometimes they're pretty busy, especially if it's before a major holiday. Usually Saturdays are kind of like spurts of people, so you'll get a bunch of people at one time, and then it'll be like there'll be like a lull for a little bit, and then a bunch more people will come in. I don't know how many customers come in a day, mostly because I'm not there for an entire day, so it's kind of hard to tell you, but I hope that kind of like answers your question a little bit. What seasons / weather / holidays have the most increase in traffic? Like I said, holidays are really big in terms of traffic because people are getting gifts for their kids and their friends and all of that. I'm excited and also terrified for Christmas. Seasons, I'm not really sure. I've only worked there during like spring to summer, but I don't think I've noticed much of a difference between the amount of people who come in from season to season. What parts of the store tend to draw the most customers? Definitely like the displays, like the bookshelves, staff picks, the bestsellers, Indie Next, New and Notable. Those displays are a hot spot for people. There's usually a lot of people in fiction, and there's always a good amount of people who are in nonfiction and history and science. It's kind of like pretty spread out among sections. There are a couple sections that I think tend to get overlooked, like nature or design or etiquette. Like some of those like really smaller sections that tend to be overlooked, but it's pretty spread out, I think, in terms of like traffic to specific sections. What books do you tend to see picked off the shelves more often? If it's a popular author, then a lot of people are gonna buy it, or if it's a new release, a lot of people buy it, or a book that's like really good. We do have a literature section that people tend to, oh, I didn't say that earlier when I was going through all sections. The people tend to shop in, so that's like classics and stuff, so those are pretty popular. If an author is really popular and they have a new book that comes out, that book gets bought a lot. So like Linda Castillo or Stephen King or John Grisham or James Patterson, like if they have new books, those are really popular. I know Malibu Rising, I have it right here, just came out by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and we sold like 5 copies on the day that it came out. One of them was to me. And actually I think we sold more than 5. We sold quite a few copies on that first day that it was out. Also, I want to like give a disclaimer here really quick. I feel like I'm being very biased towards fiction because I read fiction, so I pay more attention to fiction than I do to nonfiction because I don't find nonfiction as interesting. So I have a little bit of a bias there. I don't, like I said, I don't pay attention as much to nonfiction, so I guess keep that in mind as I'm answering these questions. How much do you think covers matter? Covers matter a lot, I think. But I also think what matters almost as much as covers is like the publicity that a book is getting. A lot of people will hear books talked about on NPR or on the radio or like on Good Morning America or something. Like if a new book is coming out and it's got a lot of publicity, people will hear about it and then they'll come in and ask for it. So like that's also a really important thing. What's the vibe of the bookstore you work in? It's very like open. I want to say like clean and organized. It's not like one of those bookstores that are like jam-packed of books and you can like barely walk through the hallways, you know? Like it's pretty open. It's a big store, but we do have a lot of books, so our shelves are still pretty full, so it kind of has that like cluttered but like an organized cluttered sort of feeling. I'd say it's pretty like happy in the bookstore. It always smells good because it smells like books. And then we also play like 60s, 70s music. I actually really enjoy that because I like that kind of music. It definitely has like a relaxed vibe. I always love when we have book clubs meeting because they'll meet in like the corners where the tables are, and there's just like a little like rumble of like conversation, and that's always fun because you can just like hear people laughing and having a good time while they're meeting for their book club. Is it fast-paced or slow? Pretty fast-paced, I'd say. Like I said, it tends to be slower in the evening, but it's pretty fast-paced in terms of, well, like my job, because like there's always something that I can be doing, but also in terms of people just like browsing. Like there tends to be quite a few people browsing the stacks at once. How often do you have last minute customers before closing? We're not usually too like angry if customers come in before close. At least I'm not, because I don't like, I like being there. So like even though like yeah, I'm kind of tired, I still enjoy like doing my job basically. So I'm not usually too mad if like customers come in right before closing. It does happen from time to time. Any interesting interactions? There's definitely some interesting interactions. It's always fun when a customer comes in with a giant list of books that they want you to look up. I've definitely had people ask like interesting requests. Like I had someone come in and ask if we sell Pokemon cards, and I'm like, nope, sorry. Sometimes it can be difficult to like help if someone's looking for a gift. It's like sometimes it can be difficult to find exactly what they're looking for because they don't know what they're looking for. They're kind of like, oh, a gift for a 12-year-old girl. And it's like, okay, well, like, what do they like? I don't know. Like, so sometimes it's harder to, like, find a book that they're looking for because you just don't have much to go off of. While working at the bookstore, do you ever get to see cool covers that catches your eye for days? Definitely yes. The First Day of Spring has a really pretty cover that I've had my eye on for a long time that I really want to read. This one, When the Stars Go Dark, I think has a really pretty cover. There was a book that I picked up recently called Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs? And one, because the title is interesting, but two, because the cover was really aesthetically pleasing to me. And I ended up reading it. It's actually a nonfiction book, and I actually really enjoyed it. So yeah, a cover definitely influences me and like what I'm looking for. Also, it makes looking at covers a lot makes it easier to like kind of remember things. If someone comes in and they're like, oh, there's this book and it has a yellow cover with red text, and I'm like, oh, is it this book? Staring at the covers can be helpful for your job as well. How did you get into the biz to begin with? I've always been into books. I've always read since I was a kid. Like since I learned how to read, I've always been obsessed with books. I'm an English major, creative writing and journalism communications minor. I read a lot, I write a lot. Like that's just like my entire life. Basically, I have my YouTube channel. So like books is like my entire life. And also thinking I want to go into publishing eventually at some point. And so I figured that having a job at a bookstore would be good experience for that, because you have like experience on that like retail sales side, like marketing side of book selling. So I figured that would be good experience for me to have for like future. Do you get a discount on buying books because you're an employee? Yes, actually, I get a 30% discount on pretty much everything in the store. And we also have a shelf in the back where we have damaged copies, because if it's damaged and then the publisher just doesn't want it back, we can't sell it, so we'll put it out for the employees to grab. So for example, wow, goodness gracious. My copy of Claire and the Sun was a damaged copy, and up here is the damage. So yeah, I actually get damaged copies for free. We also get a lot of ARCs that publishers send us. So for example, this is an ARC, and we get ARCs for free as well. And then we can also staff books out, which is kind of like checking it out like from a library, where you just can't take the last book that we have in stock. You can grab a book and then you like put it on your account basically. The issue with that is to be really, really careful, because you have to return it in the same condition that you grabbed it, so you can't like damage it in any way, otherwise we can't sell it. So you just gotta be careful when you're staffing books out. And I have yet to staff a book out because I'm so busy trying to read all the books that I have on my TBR before I get to do that. Do you feel like your reading habits have changed since you started this job? Reading more or less, branching out to different genres, etc.? Definitely 100% yes. Before I had this job, I pretty much exclusively read YA fiction. And now I work in the adult section, so I have not read many adult books, and so that's definitely a priority of mine, is to read more adult books so I could do my job better. But also, like I said earlier about that nonfiction book that I read, like, I don't think I would have ever read that before, but I noticed it and I thought it sounded interesting, so then I did read it. So it's like things that catch my attention that I probably would never have picked up before because I'm working with the books. It's important for me to be able to do my job by reading adult books. Also, another thing that is more common now is that I'm reading newer releases. Before this, I pretty much always read backlist books unless I was really excited about a book that was coming out. But now the new releases are a pretty important part of our store because, like I said, people tend to buy books that are on bestsellers or on new and notable. But yeah, I will say that it's kind of stressful since I work in the adult section, but I don't read a lot of adult. I'm playing catch up to all my coworkers who have been reading adult for years, you know? That was the last question, so I hope that this video was entertaining and informative for you if you are ever looking for a job at a bookstore. If you have more questions, definitely leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit the subscribe button and stick around because I do a lot of bookish content on my channel. And I do vlogs and other fun sit-down videos as well. So yeah, definitely subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And if you want to follow me on social media, all my links are in the description box down below as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!